I bought this because I wanted to make a series called Roadster Road Trips. But it turns out that buying an old Porsche is an expensive and generally bad idea. It's less reliable than my 50-year-old British ragtop, but I still like the idea of a road trip series. So I took the SUV. Hopefully you know that I've made several Southwest travel guides, including a few on Utah's mighty 5 national parks. Utah has incredible scenery and roads that cut through it. One in the southeast corner has a fantastic nickname, Trail of the Ancients. Most maps call it just Highway 95. It connects the small town of Blanding to the adventure seeker's paradise of Hanksville, but most people drive it just to get to Capitol Reef National Park. It's more than a conveyance. It's a destination in itself. I drove it a few times with the cameras rolling, so I could show it to you in its best light. It's not just Mother Nature that makes this road special. Humans have lived here for thousands of years. And on this road, we'll see how they use the stony landscape and primitive tools to build homes and places to store their harvests. We'll wind our way around and through canyons, across 1,000-foot vaults, high forests, and this is going to sound a little weird, but we're going to drive through the sands of time, or what geologists unromantically call eras. We're going to head down to the Colorado River, and then back up again to a high plain that is anything but, with its roads that cannot be taken in the Boxster. We start in Blanding. It's on the main road between Monument Valley and Moab. It has just 3,600 folks, a few motels, a dinosaur museum, and a combination gas station, bowling alley, and pizza place. It's the main road to a couple of national monuments and Capitol Reef National Park, so some locals call it the National Parks Highway. It's pretty darn flat as we head west, so you may be surprised that the elevation is over 6,000 feet. Yes, this is the high desert. And this landscape, it's old. It's from the Jurassic time. That's the last age of the dinosaurs, which is why Blanding has that museum. But as we descend to the river, we'll be driving over stuff that's much older than that. Cell service is sketchy, so I always carry a paper map with me. And by the way, Ram McNally calls these 122 miles a scenic byway. And it is. It's not long before the flatness ends. It twists around one of the smallest canyons on the highway, which ironically is called Big Canyon. People have lived here and just about everywhere else for over 10,000 years. Around here, any rocky alcove or water source was likely the home to someone at some point in history. To protect this and tens of thousands of other sites, the area is a department of the Bears Ears National Monument. Native Americans are happy about that. Many of the locals are less happy with the land use restrictions that go along with it. This section of the Bears Ears is managed by the BLM. That's the Bureau of Land Management. I went through them to get permission to fly the drone. They don't want many people to visit these areas because, well, there's a few selfish people out there who take advantage of the situation and take and even destroy history. So I'm walking a fine line here. I'm going to tell you about some of the better-known places, but not about the ones that are totally unprotected. And I was asked not to disclose too much about any of these locations, and to turn off the GPS on my cameras and on the phone to prevent evil, clever types from using the metadata to discover these remote locations. We're going to use their map on most of the drive, including our first ruin site, Butler Wash Ruins. The BLM map tells us it's just a short hike to the ruin overlook. This is Butler Wash Ruin. There are many sites like this one, but only a few have parking lots and trails to them. After stretching our legs, we're now back on the Trail of the Ancients. And just a few miles farther west, we're climbing Combs Ridge. It's an 80-mile-long north-to-south running monocline fault that formed as the Colorado Plateau was pushed up from the west. It was a formidable barrier until road crews blasted their way through it relatively recently in 1976. Because that's when it was finished, it has yet another nickname. Some people call it the Bicentennial Highway. I've driven this section at least 4 times now, and I still find it fascinating. I love how the road is cut into the cliff. And if you're into geology, look at all those layers. Tectonic forces pushed them up here, when the younger stuff to the west, what geologists might call a mini-plate, were forced down underground, forcing these younger rocks up, and giving us something to marvel at. in the afternoon sun. And I can recommend the campground too, even when it's cloudy. The road S's its way up the canyon. Those of you with an ATV and a few spare hours can head down a dirt road to Arch Canyon to see another dwelling site. I discovered this road while trying to find a ruin with the best name ever, House on Fire. I didn't find it the first time I went there, or even the second. Turns out its trailhead is down a poorly marked dirt road, and the trailhead isn't marked either. On my third visit, a bunch of cars hinted that I might be in the right place, and I was. A mile-long trail in a sandy stream bed leads to it. This is the House on Fire. When the light is right, the rocks that make up the ceiling look like they're on fire. It was built in a place with good sight lines that is easy to defend. It seems that even then, steps were taken to protect and to preserve. Further west, there's another site that's easier to access. It's on the ridge of Mule Canyon. It's possible that the same people who built House on Fire also built this. And again, the BLM does a great job of telling its story, this time on several info panels. It says that these 12 rooms were likely built for 2 to 3 family groups, and that each of the rooms had a roof with a hole in the center. Each was accessed by a ladder that could be pulled up, again to protect the family and their stuff, including stored food. They grew beans, squash, and of course corn in this flat area. If you've seen my other videos, you know what this is. It's a kiva. It was used for communal meetings and rituals. And this one had something that I haven't really seen before. It's got a crawl space to the 12-room block. Before it was modestly restored, it was more obvious that this wasn't a kiva. It was a 2-story lookout tower and storeroom. One of the info panels says it looked a bit like this. Both times I was here, I had the place entirely to myself. It was nice. With nobody around, it was easy to imagine what it was like living here when they built this place about 1,000 years ago. The ingenuity and skill required makes you wonder who was the wiser. How many of us could have survived here? And with only stone tools and no wheel to help haul the rocks, build this. This part of the road is atop the forested cedar mesa. It's primarily made of sandstone that's really, really old. It's from the Permian, which is the age before dinosaurs. If you want to see just how high this mesa is, about 32 miles from Blanding, take a left at the paved road. It's Highway 261, and drive it for about 34 miles south, and then get on a dirt road for about 5 miles more to Muley Point. It has an amazing view of canyons carved by the San Juan River. Then maybe drive down the Moki Dugway. It drops 1,200 feet off the mesa to another place with a great name, the Valley of the Gods. If you're interested, why not watch my Monument Valley and Beyond video? It covers it in great detail. While heading back up 261 to rejoin our Trail of the Ancients, you'll see 2 distinctive buttes. By the time you run into Highway 95, you probably figured out that these are the Bear's Ears. This whole area is named after them, and I suppose they do look a bit like the ears of a bear. Of course, we turn left to continue. A few miles later, we make our first stop at a national park property. It's a small park with just 3 natural sandstone bridges. They're all accessible, well, at least their viewpoints are, from its 9-mile one-way loop road. There is no hotel, but there is a campground, which is handy because Natural Bridges is the first international dark sky park, and the trails to the bridges are open all day and all night. Though when there's no moonlight, you can't see the bridges, but the Milky Way looks great. The bridges were all cut by the same stream that cut this canyon. The water meanders, and when it changes direction, it has the power to erode. Eventually, it can break through a skinny wall, forming a bridge. So it doesn't erode from the top, it erodes from the middle. And that's why the tops of the bridges are pretty flat. And these 3 here, they seem to have been created by the same stream. Once you get down to its bed, you can hike to each of the bridges. This is a view from the Loop Road pullout for Sapapo Bridge. And I'm sorry about the pronunciation. That's as close as I can get. And of course, the view here, well, it's not great. But there is a trail to it, and it's only about a half-mile long. But it drops 500 feet, which means you have to climb back up 500 feet. And on this June day, it was pretty hot, and I wasn't up for that. But those who are get a much better view. And by the way, if any of you have a nice shot of this bridge or any of the others, please let me know in the comments. Some hiked to the other two bridges, but I drove to Kachina Bridge. The trail to this one is 3/4 of a mile long, and it's only 400 feet down. And the next bridge has even less elevation change, but its name is unpronounceable, and it's the biggest, and its trail is the shortest. And you only have to hike down 180 feet, so the slog back up is a lot easier. And those are the 3 bridges of Natural Bridges National Monument. And I probably should have mentioned this earlier, but there is another cool thing to see here. It has a lovely name, Horse Collar Ruin. There's a short trail to its overlook. It's only 1/3 of a mile long, and there's very little elevation change. But sadly, I didn't know it was here. But now you do. And even if you don't hike down to the bridges, you ought to hike down to this overlook. Natural Bridges is a great place to get out and just stretch your legs, as we still have about 90 miles to go. On the mesa, we're still at about 6,000 feet, but not for long. This terrain map shows that as we head west again, our road starts a slow descent off Cedar Mesa and into canyon country that has a lot of strange names. After about 20 minutes, we're at Cheesebox Canyon. It's named after one of those buttes. The canyon gets quite narrow, and in places it's a hikeable slot canyon for those who are willing to accept the risks. They can be quite dangerous. If it rains upstream, there's really no way to get out. If you're used to traveling to national parks, well, BLM land is a little bit different. Risk is something that you have to get used to. There's not a lot of help out here. The BLM website says that this is a place that requires self-reliance. There's no food or gas along the way. And of course, there's limited cell service, which is why I recommend having a good old paper map with you. And these days, many cars, including rental cars, don't have spare tires. So you might want to have a plan B in case you get a flat. I actually buy a plug kit and have a compressor with me at all times. Many of the rock formations have names. This one is called Jacob's Chair, for that rock poking above the mesa. This is Observation Rock, hinting its earlier use. It has a great place to pull over. Once again, I had the whole area to myself. And it qualifies as one of my places with the sound of silence. You can hear nothing here but Mother Nature. No man-made sounds whatsoever. Except for the rare car that comes by. If you've been to Monument Valley, these rocks may look familiar. They're part of the same formation. The lower, softer mudstone was deposited when this whole area was underwater. The higher, younger sandstones are much harder, and they were deposited after the water receded. But no matter how they got here, they are spectacular to look at. This is an example of just how big everything is out here. In video, it just can't capture the scale of the West. It's a place I really hope you'll come out here to see for yourself. About 10 amazing miles later, we leave the Bears Ears and enter Glen Canyon National Recreation Area. It's run by the National Park Service, so I can't fly the drone here. The road concludes its 2,000-foot drop at the Height Bridge over the Colorado River. It's over 200 miles upstream from the Grand Canyon. This bridge marks the end of the famous Cataract Canyon. It's what you see upstream. When the water is high, it's fast and rough. On this June day, it was calm. But that wasn't the case when the one-armed John Wesley Powell and his team came through here in wooden boats in 1869. They were sent by the president to explore and map the area. It was one of the last places in the West to be surveyed and documented. The bridge was completed in 1966, the same year the Lake Powell Dam was completed. Before that, a car ferry was the only way across the river, but eventually Lake Powell came all the way up to here. A few minutes later, there's a smaller bridge over another place with a great name, the Dirty Devil River. We climb a bit over sandstone, but stay near the river. This is a recreation area after all. so there's a couple of places to pull over, and I did. The first side road went to what appeared to be a camping and hiking area. The next has river access. This is where Cataract River rafting trips end. I took a short walk to a high point with a nice view of the river and the bridge. The official lookout spot is a few more miles down the road. This is Height Overlook. The bridge is miles away to the northeast. The best time to take a photo of it is in the afternoon. In the other direction is a now useless boat ramp. This is roughly where that car ferry was, before the water came up. It was the only place to cross the river for hundreds of miles. And the town of Height, which all this area is named after, was down there somewhere too. But it too disappeared under the rising water. While putting this video together, I learned that I had been here before, in 2010. Back then, the boat ramp was nearly usable, and Lake Powell came all the way up to here, 185 miles from the dam. Today, Lake Powell is less than a third full. It's about 140 feet lower than it was in 1983. As you might expect, the Height Bridge is the lowest elevation of our trip. We've lost about 2,000 feet since we started. And as we climb up, we're once again going through amazing canyon country. And as you can see from this map, we get to drive through lots of canyons, and it's really nice. Luckily, after just driving a few miles, we're out of the Glen Canyon Recreation Area and back in BLM land, which means I can fly again. When I see twisty sections like this, it really makes me wish I could have brought the ragtop. Maybe if I bought a Miata. The rocks in this one image tell an incredible story. I got this information from the Roadside Geology of Utah book. In this shot, towards the bottom, below that shelf, we have mud, silt, and sand. It was all deposited in a shallow sea. It came from an ancient mountain range that long ago eroded away. It doesn't exist anymore. Except in these scraps we see here. That flat shelf, it's a hard sandstone. It was formed when there was a coastal beach here. And on top of that is the Morrison Formation. It's the light-colored rock that's mostly covered up by stuff that's fallen on top of it. The Morrison is where an awful lot of dinosaur bones are found. And yes, parts of it go all the way back to Blanding. And the red sandstone layers on top, they were formed when this whole area was covered by giant sand dunes. It's just amazing to see how nature carved all this. And it looks quite different depending on the weather and the time of day. Try to be here when it's sunny. It looks great from road level. And the drone, it's very good at showing off Mother Nature's handiwork. I was so interested in all the curves and the canyons that I frankly forgot that this is called the Trail of the Ancients. But then I started seeing alcoves again, and of course, where there's alcoves, there's likely to be evidence of human occupation. There's a big alcove just before Hog Springs Recreation Area. Had I known I was going to make this video, I would have bushwhacked my way up there. It's a perfect spot for occupation. And there's a rock art panel up there too. This is Hog Spring Recreation Area. It's a nice place to get out and stretch your legs, assuming you don't mind a wobbly suspension bridge. A few info panels confirm the long history of human occupation here. There's petroglyphs and other rock art on the canyon walls. A trail leads to some of that proof. This one says that there's a nice place for experienced canyoneers even further up the trail, but that pre-planning and technical gear is required, echoing the BLM self-reliance motto. This is the trail. It's all green because of the natural spring. It flows year-round. It quenched the thirst and watered the crops for people for thousands of years. And further up the canyon, there's a couple of slot canyons. But if you want to explore them, remember, they can be dangerous. The spring flows all year, and there's obviously plenty of water for the vegetation. It was pretty much blocking the trail. So I turned around. Heading northwest from Hog Spring, there's one more great piece of road. And this one is the last climb, before we're on that flat plain I talked about. This is that flat plain. Its elevation is just 4,300 feet. This is what most of the last 34 miles are like. It's open cattle country, and at night, it can be quite hard to see the cows. This one didn't make it. Then there was an even sadder sight. A calf had also been hit. Its mother stood by, hoping it would get up. There's been lots of erosion here. Most of the red rock is completely eroded away. All that's left is a couple of sandstone hoodoos. Everything else is pretty much just wind-blown sand and other material. It's almost powdery. Some of it's volcanic ash, and that means the canyons are much different. Our 122-mile journey on beautiful Utah 95 is just about over. This is Hanksville, where our road dead ends into Utah 24, which is another amazing road, by the way. Hanksville has just 220 residents, yet people from around the world come here. And I'll probably have to do a full video on why that is, but let me give you a little hint. Like our road, there's amazing landscapes here, but these are much different. Goblin Valley State Park is 30 miles up the road, to the right on Highway 24. I've been there a couple of times and I'm definitely going back. It's a delightfully weird place. The Goblins are in a little valley. Luckily, all that white topsoil was eroded away, leaving a valley that's full of little goblins, which are just about 50 feet below the parking lot. We're back in the red rock down here, and it's eroded into weird shapes. It's a free roaming place that's just fun to explore. And it's a great place for photographers to really show their chops. For example, I'm really proud of this one. It certainly makes you think of something. You'll see lots of shapes down here that may remind you of certain things. And they're all very accessible. You don't have to hike for hours to get here. It's just a short walk from the parking lot. If you want to know more, my Utah's Mighty 5 guide has a whole segment on this place. Believe it or not, Goblin Valley is not the main reason people come to Hanksville. To get to that more popular place, you take a left on Highway 24. The road follows the Fremont River, which has made this desert town a farming one. But a few miles later, nothing grows. It's a moonscape. And thankfully, it's managed by the BLM, so there's very little rules here. It's a popular spot for dirt bikers and off-roaders, and also for people like me who really like to be in the middle of nowhere. Parts of it are flat, but much of it isn't. It's also a place that no one wants to get too crowded, so there's not a lot of information on where the best places are. Most of this is Menko Shale, which is part of the Morrison Formation. It's known for its colorful layering, so that means it's another great place for photographers. But like I said, it's hard to find where the best places are. Like this one. It's called Moonscape OverLook. And on my visit, I couldn't find it. I couldn't get to it. there was no real information on where it was. So I may have borrowed this shot from somebody else's video. Hopefully on another visit I'll be able to spend a few days here so I can find it for myself. Like most places, the best time to shoot it is around sunrise or sunset. And at sunset, the drive back to town is really nice. Well, it's about time to wrap this one up. Utah is known for its landscapes and its 5 national parks, but they're all over the state, which makes it a great place for a road trip. Roads here are more than just a way to get from park to park. Highway 95 is a destination in itself, with beautiful scenery and history. You really should never drive it straight through. Though it's only 120 miles, I'd plan on spending at least a day. To hike to its ruins, to admire its canyons and geology, its bridges, both natural and man-made, and to take the time to admire how water shapes the landscape, and how the road builders made the driving part of the adventure.